Hello everybody, Daniel, Onion64 or Civil Onion here, but you kind of knew that already, and welcome back to Pokemon of the Week. This week's Pokemon is, well, a Pokemon that has quite a reputation, let's put it that way. It's Sharpedo, number 319 in the Pokédex, and is in the underused tier. And let me tell you immediately why it is now in the underused tier, and it's its hidden ability Speed Boost. Every turn that goes by, Sharpedo speed goes up by one stage. As you can imagine, that is very, very potent indeed. In fact, the other Pokemon that got a speed boost bonus we have discussed in Pokemon of the Week already. And that'd be Blaziken, and that was so overpowered that it was deemed best in the Uber tier, so that's the type of ability we're working with here. Its other ability, Rough Skin, deals damage based upon contact. You'll never see that for obvious reasons. Now, you're a water and dark type as a Sharpedo, not particularly brilliant to typing on the defense, but on the attack, not too bad. However, you're weak to bug, electric, fighting, and grass. Let me quickly explain why this really doesn't matter though. Look at Sharpedo's base stats. Its HP at 70 is okay. Then you look at its defensive stats and yeah. There's glass cannon material and then there's Sharpedo. Resisted hits will quite often one-hit KO you, so you do have to be very careful. Let's return to our typings though. Being Water Dark, you do resist Dark, Fire, Ghost, Ice, Steel, Water, but all of these move types can potentially KO you, only Psychic moves won't because you're immune to it. It has a very high base attack of 125. Its speed is kind of middling, slightly above average we would say, as is its special attack. It doesn't take a miracle worker to see why Speed Boost is so important for this Sharpedo. But let's talk about it more in the first of three sets. Three distinctly different sets this week. The first one is physical, and by far and away the most common. Protect is a very important move on Sharpedo because it means you can get a boost in your speed for free without risk of being hit. Do bear in mind though that Sharpedo is horribly weak to priority moves. Even ones that it resists can often cause it a problem, such as Sucker Punch or Aqua Jet. Both of those can still hurt Sharpedo massively. However, assuming you can go first, you have your stab moves of choice. Crunch is the best dark type move going. Some people use Night Slash, but to be honest, you're relying too much on the critical hit, and it is very important for Sharpedo to hit and kill in one hit. Very, very important because you won't survive any retaliation. Your other move for stab though is an interesting dilemma. Waterfall is the default choice, however it does learn Aqua Jet and priority moves are not that common outside of Sucker Punch in particular. So if your team lacks a priority move, you should definitely put that on as a consideration. However, the last move, the cover move, is Earthquake. 100 base power, 100% accurate, pretty good for type coverage, and let's be honest, as I've put in the second note there, Sharpedo's move pool is terrible. Well, in terms of type coverage moves, it really doesn't have a lot going for it. You can hit electric types with Earthquake, which would obviously naturally cause Sharpedo issues, but aside from that, it doesn't hit too many things that Sharpedo can't hit with a stab move anyway. However, your only other alternatives are Double Edge and Zen Headbutt. Double Edge does recoil damage, and in conjunction with a Life Orb, you'll die before you can do enough damage to actually make Sharpedo worthwhile. Whereas on the other hand, Zen Headbutt has probably even worse type coverage than Earthquake, and has lower damage, and has lower accuracy. That is why we have Earthquake there. You won't be surprised to hear that it's a maximum attack and maximum speed EV distribution. It doesn't matter where the remaining 4 goes. However, nature-wise, you've got to go adamant, because you can raise your speed by protecting, but you can't raise your attack in any way with this set. So as a result, you need to raise that as high as you can, because like I've pointed out already and will continue to point out in this video, if you don't hit the Pokemon that you are facing for a one-hit KO, it will kill you, almost inevitably. It doesn't matter if you're facing a wall, if it has a super effective move, even the wall will one-hit kill you. So, be very, very careful. This is the case for all glass cannons though, not just Sharpedo. It's simply that Sharpedo is an extreme case, where its defences are even worse than a glass cannon would normally be. You might think of a Pokemon like Rampardos as a glass cannon. Even that is bulkier than this. So let's go on to the second set and use the other attack stat that we've got, It's unfortunately only a base 95 special attack, however people will normally assume you're going physically, because that is the common set. And this isn't so hopelessly rare that it's unusable, or hopelessly rare because it's unusable. You do see it from time to time, and the set looks very similar, as you may have noticed. You still need Protect. Instead of Crunch you have Dark Pulse, which is the special equivalent. Having a Flinch isn't particularly useful, unsurprisingly, because let's be honest, if you're not one-hit KOing the Pokemon you're facing, you should be switching out, if you can't do so. The only saving grace is that Sharpedo may not get killed by Pursuit on the way out, although if the Pursuit is strong enough it probably will, despite the fact it's resisted. However, your choice of other stab is based upon power versus accuracy. My recommendation, to be brutally honest, is to use Hydro Pump. However, the normal move to use, well, the more common one is Surf. You have a choice there between Surf, which is 95 power and 100% accurate, and Hydro Pump, 120 power, 80% accurate. Obviously you need to apply same type attack bonus onto both of those. However, if you do miss with Hydro Pump, you'll be switching or dying, so bear that in mind. Ice Beam is your cover move. You don't really learn anything else on the special side. You can choose a hidden power, but the problem with the hidden power is that it tends to not be able to hit hard enough to get any one-hit KOs. So, as a result, it doesn't tend to be used very often. Ice Beam, at least having base power 95, can one-hit KO things it is super effective on. So that is why that's there. Water and Ice is inherently not a very good type combination for cover, in particular. But alongside Dark Stab, it's a slight improvement. It's still not brilliant, but it's the best you can manage with Sharpedo. All Sharpedo sets, do bear in mind as well, need entry hazards on their side. If you have Stealth Rock or Spikes, get them laid down as early as you can, because Sharpedo may not be able to one-hit KO every Pokemon it comes across from 100%. You also might run the risk of coming into something with a Focus Sash, and therefore you can't default kill it in one hit. Unless you have entry hazards that affect it, that is. That is why it's very important. EV distribution is similar to the first set, just throw the physical attack EVs into special attack and Bob's your uncle. Modest nature required for maximum special attack, and as you've seen again, Life Orb is the item. You may be surprised that I've not recommended an Expert Belt because you know how much I love them. Sharpedo is so much of a glass cannon that it needs all the power it can get, and losing some health really is irrelevant, so you need to put it on there. Finally, we've got the third version, which I've kind of mixed and matched to try and get a Pokemon that's very unpredictable. Now, look at the EVs first, they're a bit unusual. The reason there's 84 speed EVs is because if you can get 2 stages of speed, you can then outspeed maximum speed choice Scarf users with the base 100 speed. And the 2 most common in UU will be Flygon and Victini. If you're using this in OU, first of all, good luck to you, you will need it. But second of all, there are a lot of base 100s in that tier as well. Therefore, it's quite handy for that tier in particular. Now, Protect is there again, because you need to be able to boost your speed. And then we've got Dark Pulse and Hydro Pump on the special side, but we've run Earthquake. The reason for this is because you can hit Empoleon very well, which in UU absolutely stole Sharpedo out. Even a Sharpedo that gets the boost on a Pokemon like Empoleon gets a Hydro Pump and an Earthquake. Even that's not always a guaranteed KO. So you've got to be very careful and be very, very clued up on your prediction by scouting the opponent's team very, very well. Maximising your special attack is important because both of your stab are going off the special attack, whereas you can still put almost a full distribution into attack. You're only lacking 80, so that's 20 in stat terms, less investment than the maximum in your attack stat. So you're not actually going to be that far behind. As I pointed out in the previous set, you do need entry hazards badly. Toxic Spikes not so much, but Spikes and Stealth Rock is the key one because Stealth Rock affects all Pokemon. Even a Pokemon like Steelix, which will take absolutely nothing really from Stealth Rock, or Lucario would be an example in the OU tier. Very important to make sure with the Lucario there in particular that it doesn't have a Focus Sash and it hasn't surprised you. You may be able to one-hit KO both those things normally, however you don't want to run the risk of coming across a random Pokemon that has been put on a team in a desperate anti-sweep type of role. And therefore, if you come across a Focus Sash, you would be completely screwed without an entry hazard. So that's the end of this video nearly. Final point of this is the last week to get your sets in via email or via a comment on my Facebook page. Links are there on the slide, obviously. If you don't do it, week 40 is going to be a bit of an anticlimax. It's the last video in the series, so please do your best to make that interesting for everybody. Talk to you all next week.